Well, good morning everyone, and welcome to Steve's Saturday Kitchen, streaming live through CakeFlix. I'd like to thank Paul and David for inviting me to take part in caking all over the world. And those of you that don't know me, this is my first tutorial for CakeFlix. Basically, I've been doing cake design and decoration for over 40 years, and I've been fortunate enough to travel the world. And during my time traveling the world, I have met some really super sugar artists, and hopefully through my tutorials with you, I'm going to be able to show you some of my ideas and techniques. Grab yourself a cup of coffee. It might be later on in the day, wherever you're watching from. Maybe have a glass of a vino or something else. But just before we start, I wanted to bring you up to speed really. These are some of the books that I've actually produced during my 40 years as a cake designer and sugar artist. And some of these I've done with other sugar artists as well, where we've put together a compendium of cake ideas. And the whole point of me being able to share my tutorials with you is to show you some of the things that I've designed and created and how you can actually use them on your cakes. So if you've downloaded the recipes and the sheets, you can follow along at home. And also as well, there will be a list of equipment that you might like to gather together if you want to try this out as well. I will be able to ask questions as we go through this morning. So maybe sit back, relax, find yourself that nice comfortable chair, and we'll follow through. Let me just pop these to one side for the moment. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing today, and maybe you'd like to get this ready, this is some clear run-out film, or it's like a clear thin plastic sheet. And what I've done is I've masked that down to some cake boards. And also as well, if you want to get hold of some clear document files, these are the ones that I've used. And what I've done is just cut them in half like that, and then so that you can lift them out. So lift it up like this. And this is the clear run-out film. If you haven't got any clear run-out film like this, what you could use is you could use some cling film and stretch this tightly over a cake board and then secure that with a little bit of masking tape, and then you're good to go. I will be using a range of products as well. This is a royal icing which I've made earlier this morning, and this is at soft peak consistency. I'm also going to be using some cake lace. Now you can buy this in lots of different countries, different brands, and you can use gold or silver. And I'm going to be showing you some techniques how you can make some metallic sheets and use this as well in your cake decoration. I'm also going to be using some Renshaw. This is their flour and modelling paste. And what I've prepared this with is a little bit of Trex or Crisco, and I've worked this into the paste, and that's ready to use. And I've also used their Renshaw sugar paste, and into the sugar paste I've put some of their Belgian white chocolate modelling paste. And this I found gave the sugar paste a real nice texture. And also as well, it didn't crack at all, particularly if you were trying to get those sharp edges, which are so important. And also as well, you've got that fabulous taste. So that's the things that I'm going to be showing you this morning. We will be going to the overhead camera in a moment, and I will be available to ask your questions as we go through. So if we're caking all over the world, those people from Australia, New Zealand, America, Canada, good morning, and I hope you enjoy our tutorial. And I'm just going to take a little bit more icing sugar on there so I can go over the top. Now, as I said earlier on about practicing, what I'm going to use on here is some piping tubes, and I've got a 12, a number 4 and a 2 PME, and I've also got a veiner and the texture tool end there. So doing it directly onto your board, what I've got is the design, so you can see there, and I'm going to work first of all, okay, by taking the veining tool away from me, and then I'm going to bring it towards me here. This is putting on my basic shape that I want to work with, and again there, and here, there. And then I'm going to balance that again with using the stitching end. So if we take the stitching wheel like that, and if we put another one in here, and a couple of other pieces. And then if you use your piping tube and just pop your finger in there, you can make some embossed marks onto your paste. And then I'm going to use a couple of smaller ones, and I'm going to emboss that into the center of the flower there. These are my main flowers. Just free hand on there. Then take the piping tube on your finger, and then what I'm going to do is just to put it in and lift it at an angle. So I'll change and try it with my left hand so you can see, and just lift it away. And do the same on that bit there. So just popping it in like a 45-degree angle and lifting that away. So I have a few more on that side. And then I'm going to use the smaller tube for the center and pop that in there so it looks like roses. And then if I use the tube again, what I'm going to do is create a flower. So if I just push the tube in like that and lift it up, and then you can use the smaller tube for the center. And then if you want to, you can just do a couple more petals on the outside like this. And then if you use the veining tool again, I'm just going to sort of extenuate the flower shape there. So with your design that you have, like this, what we then need to do is to cut it. So just use your palette knife like so, and along the bottom, and then remove the surplus paste. So what you're going to do then is to dap this over. Now this is doing it on the board. If you're actually going to do it onto your cake, then obviously you need to cover your cake first of all and do this while the icing is still soft. So that's sort of like a frosty effect in my eyes. So if you've got like a winter effect to do, you can then colour this with like a super pearl luster colour. Or you can airbrush it when that's on the cake. What I also tried as well was using a veining tool, and what I did was used a ball tool first of all, like this. Now that one on its own will give you like a tannin effect, like if you've seen metalworks where they, you know, adding texture. Texture is one of the things that people want on their cake sides, and certainly a modern and contemporary one, this looks really nice. So when I've done that one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some luster colour, and this is an antique silk which I'm using. So we've got the antique silk there, and I'm just going to brush that over the top, and you can see I'm going to work that one over onto the metallic. So you can see there how tannalized, I think is the word, that it does with that texture. And particularly if you only want it on an area of your cake, then you've got a contrast between the flat and also the textured part. I'm going to highlight that area with some rose gold. So I just take some rose gold like that. So we've got a different effect. And now you can see how effective and easy it is to create that texture. So having done that, okay, that you can see what it's like, you can either transfer this directly onto your cake, as I explained earlier, by covering your cake with the sugar paste and then applying the texture, or you could use a panel method. Now, a panel method is where you actually take your texture from the board like this, and I'm going to put the panel piece on. Now, if I was going to put it around the whole piece of the cake, I could put it in separate panels, but what I'm just going to do is to lift the paste and drop that against the side. And then if you just take your palette knife, what you can do is hold it flat against the surface and take your paste away. If you were going to put the metallic one on, I'll just turn that one round. The metallic one could go at an angle like this. And then if you just take your palette knife and cut in at the bottom, just a little bit difficult at this angle, and the same on the top. Now the paste is actually sticking to itself quite nicely, but what you could do is you could just put a little bit of water onto the cake surface so that you can stick that on. And this is the shard one. This is a bit more like abstract, if you wanted to put them on like that. And another one there. This is where you can get really creative. Just use a little tool there, add a little bit more texture while it's still soft. But that's just to give you some ideas of how you can use different textures on the side of your cake. Let's move that one over a little bit so it's straight. Okay, so I think what we'll do now is we'll go over to Paul and David at Cake Flicks, and we'll be back shortly.
I have 3 questions for you. Do you love all things cake? Do you want to learn from some of the world's best cake artists? Do you want to be part of our growing community of over 200,000 members? Then get yourself over to cakeflicks.com. We've got some amazing deals on right now. We offer a 365-day support plus the most amazing Q&A service. You can now view us on all the main streaming services. So what are you waiting for? Head over to cakeflix.com now and become part of the Cakeflix family.
So welcome back. We're going to continue with our textures on the side of the cake. So I'm going to take some modelling paste and just use a little bit of icing sugar underneath. So we can roll that into a panel. Now if you measure the depth of the cake that you want to put this onto, they're usually, well, the deep ones are between 5 and 6 inches deep, and I'm just going to take a little bit more icing sugar on there so I can go that over the top. Now, as I said earlier on about practicing, what I'm going to use on here is some piping tubes, and I've got a 12, a number 4 and a 2 PME, and I've also got a veiner and the texture tool end there. So doing it directly onto your board, what I've got is the design. So you can see there. And I'm going to work first of all, okay, by taking the veining tool away from me. And then I'm going to bring it towards me here. This is putting on my basic shape that I want to work with. And again there, and here, there. And then I'm going to balance that again with using the stitching end. So if we take the stitching wheel like that, and if we put another one in here, and a couple of other pieces. And then if you use your piping tube and just pop your finger in there, you can make some embossed marks onto your paste. And then I'm going to use a couple of smaller ones, and I'm going to emboss that into the center of the flower there. These are my main flowers. I'm going to add just another leaf in there, and then if you take your piping tube, just put another vein in there like that, and another one like that, a couple of little lines. Okay, this is just freehand on there. Then take the piping tube on your finger, and then what I'm going to do is just to put it in and lift it at an angle. So I'll change and try it with my left hand so you can see, and just lift it away. And do the same on that bit there. So just popping it in like a 45-degree angle and lifting that away. So I have a few more on that side. And then I'm going to use the smaller tube for the center and pop that in there so it looks like roses. And then if I use the tube again, what I'm going to do is create a flower. So if I just push the tube in like that and lift it up, and then you can use the smaller tube for the center. And then if you want to, you can just do a couple more petals on the outside like this. And then if you use the veining tool again, I'm just going to sort of extenuate the flower shape there. So with your design that you have like this, What we then need to do is to cut it. So just use your palette knife like so, and along the bottom. And then remove the surplus paste. So what I'm going to do is just remove the cling film that's been on the covering. And if you do find that you get a few little marks from the cling film, what I've done is just take some paste like this, and then what you can do is just polish over the surface, and that will remove any of the cling film marks. So going back to our panel that we created, so moving that onto the side of the cake, so what I'm going to do is just to pick that up and place that on like so. And again, the paste is sticking to itself, so what you can do is put a little bit of water on there if it's not sticking. Just turn that towards me slightly, because what I want to do then is take a ruler and just make sure that it's the edges are straight. So we'll trim that one too. So put the ruler there, and then get your palette knife and trim down. And then you can take that surplus paste away. Stick in just a little bit. Going to use a veining tool there. Just smooth over that area. And as we trim down, we can peel that paste away. And I hope you're all staying safe and well during this difficult time. I'm sure we will get back to some normality soon. Let's hope so anyway. I'm just going to get a smoother. That's what I want to do, is put the smoother just down that edge and also on the top, like that. And now you've got your design. That's the panel method. If you want to do it directly onto your cake, I'm just going to turn this round to that side there. So we can use our same technique that we had. And again, if you bring your design, so you're working it with on your board, and then what I'm going to do is to just take the, if I do it this way, okay, so if I just take this around like that and do the same on the bottom, just change the angle so that you can bring that up like this. Another one just there. We'll have one here and there. And then if you take your texture tool, run that in like that. And then we do a few little leaves here. A couple out like that. And then if we use our piping tube, we can put our flowers where we want to have them. And then this is the medium-sized tube in the middle. and then the smaller one goes like that. And then to create the leaf effect, I'm using the number 4 tube, and what I'm going to do is to just bring out some of the paste like this, and just pop it on your finger and lift it out. Change hands. Do a couple down on this side. It does add some depth to the design, and then if I turn that there, you can just see if I try and create another flower, it's difficult to try and get this filmed in the camera shot and to get your fingers in the tube. So if I just do that top one there, and I do a couple around the outside like that. And then if we just take the small tube for the centre, I'll do a couple of little lines in there for effect. And you can see there, we've got that embossed design on the side. And I'm just going to leave that for a minute or two before I come back and colour it. And I'm going to take some gold and just take a little bit of the alcohol in there, and then take some of the gold colour like this. A little bit more alcohol in that. Just work that in. So this is a edible gold, and what I'm going to do is just to highlight the leaf area where I cut with the piping tube. So just brush that over on all of those. It's a good idea as well if you just let that skin over where you've done all your cut areas so they don't fall back like so. And then I'm going to use a little bit of luster pink. So this is the luster pink. I'm just taking a little bit of that on the brush, just remove surplus, and then I'm going to highlight the area where I did the rose effect, like so. So we've just got a little bit of colour there. And then I'm going to use just a little bit of antique silk, and I'm going to just highlight a little bit over the leaf there. As you highlight your textured areas, it will just bring the definition forward more. So just a little bit on that, a little bit on that flower there. And I think that's fine. So you can then take your collar away and you've got your painted design. Now if you're going to stack these, then what I would do is do the decoration on there and then stack each of the cakes with the dowels underneath. So I hope you like that technique. We're going to zoom over now to Paul and David for a short break, and we'll be back shortly. Hello and welcome to Steve Benison's Sugar Artistry. I hope you've enjoyed our tutorials. I'd just like to tell you about my online store. These are all my cutters and molds that I've created over the years. They're very innovative and allows you to do more than one thing with my cutters. Each of the cutters come with a 4-colour step-by-step instruction leaflet. And these are the ones that we've done on our first tutorial, which is our lattice cutter. So you can head over to the website, have a browse, and I hope you enjoy your online shopping. Hi and welcome back. While we've been on the break, what I've done is I've coloured all the sides now of the panel method and also the one which I applied directly to the cake. So you can leave the design like this. What I would like to do before I finish this cake is I'd like to put a band of sugar paste around the bottom. So that's what I'm going to do next. So just bear with me while I get the paste ready. Into a sausage shape and just flatten that down across the angle. Just make sure it's not stuck to the table. And then roll across. And roll it across this way so that it keeps a fairly straight edge. Cake. So just gather all those bits up together. Now I'm just going to move this to one side and bring my cake in. So I'm just going to take a little bit of water and brush that around on the board like that. Just make sure there's not too much there. And then I've got this on a small turntable, and what I'm going to do is just bring up the sugar paste like this as I turn around, so you can bring the paste in around that panel piece like that. Just tidy up the edge. So you've got your cake board covered. Now this is the modelling paste. Ideally, if you can let it rest a while, it's much better because the paste isn't quite so soft. What I'm going to use now, this is a lattice cutter. So I'm going to place the lattice cutter on a piece of non-slip mat and then place the paste over the top. And then I like to use a rolling pin to do this. If you use the rolling pin, you can actually see where the cut area is. Oops, shouldn't have looked up then, should I? So we'll just take that a little bit away. Okay, and I should be able to get two out of that one piece, I think. So what I'm going to do then is just take a palette knife, and if you just if you just smooth across the top with your palette knife like this, you should get your pieces from the centre and also your lattice piece like that. So I'm going to put those squares, we've got them on our board. Now if we take a stitching wheel, what we can do is we can apply a little texture, so just adds a bit more interest. So I'm going to put some texture over that way and turn it this way. This also makes a really good word game board, so you can use the tile pieces for your letters. Also as well, if you trim it off and colour it brown, you've got a little fence. So there's lots of ways that you can actually use it. And I got this idea from the trellis in our garden with the flowers growing up it. I thought that would make a really nice idea to go on a cake. So that's how this one evolved. And then what I'm going to do is just take a piping tube like this, and you can take out some random areas. I'm not going to do it all over, because what I want to do with the lattice, let me just move those to one side, is I want to take I just move those there like that. That's how I want to put it onto the cake. So what I want to do is I want to cut down here like that. So I use the palette knife, edge of the palette knife, to cut that and move that to one side. And I want to do another piece on that bit. So if you've got a 2-tier cake, you can have the opposite sides on either of your cake side designs. So we just move those there, and then I'm going to get some cling film to put some Trex over the top, or Crisco, and then take some water and then bring your design that you want to go onto your cake like this, and then bring the cling film over the top of your design so that the cling film sticks, and then just use your palette knife to make sure that it's stuck to the cling film and not the board. Okay, so you can lift that up and turn it over like that. And then this is where you're going to take your water and put water on the areas there which are actually going to stick to the cake. So brush that over. Like that. And then if you bring your cake, and this is the side that we're actually going to put it on. So just turn it around a little bit like that. So then what I'm going to do is lift the cling film like this, and then position that on the cake where I want it to go. And then I just need to bring that into my view so that I can make sure that it's straight as I want it, like that. And then just run your finger over the top to make sure your design is stuck down. And then if you peel your cling film away, like this, you've got your design transferred onto your cake. So what we're going to take now is a little bit of Crisco or Trex, depending on where you are in the world. It's a vegetable shortening, and this is a little sequin stencil that I'm going to use. So what I'm doing is just putting a little bit of Trex over that, and then place this down onto your film. And then this is some royal icing that I prepared earlier. So I'm just going to mix it a little bit like that. Just work it around the side. And then what I'm going to do is to spread this over the top. It's a soft peak royal icing, and the recipe is on the download, particularly if you want to make up just a small amount rather than having to make up a full batch. And this is something which I find is useful if you've got just a couple of things that you want to use the icing for and you haven't got any big batch made up. So we just take that over there. And what I normally do as well is probably do about 10 or 12 boards with the film, so that you can maximise on making your stencils. So what we're going to do now is just lift this away like that, and we then let those dry. So now the stencil's dry, what I'm going to do is take some antique silk luster powder and just brush this over the top, and that will get a nice coating on the top of your royal iced sequins. You might find some of them start to come away from the surface as you brush. If you want to get a more intense colour, what I did on this occasion is I put some luster powder straight over the sequins like this, and then work that through with a palette knife. Don't put too much of the Tylose glue on, and the tiles are still plastic hard, so they will bend when you put them onto the side of the cake. Then if you bring over a little bit of paper, it's probably better to do it like this. That way you can then stick your sequins, or shake your sequins, back into the box afterwards. So if you just sprinkle those over, whoops, loads there. Good job we had the paper. So if we just shake those, you can see you've got that design, or the sequins secured where you've got the Tylose glue. So if you just tap them a little bit like this, you'll find that the sequins will then secure a little bit more, and you can then put the ones that you don't use back into your pot for next time. Okay, so what we're going to do is take a little bit of water and just put that onto the side of the cake where you want the sequins, the squares with the sequins to go. And then if you pick them up like that with your finger and then pop those in, and the next one. Don't have to have them in any particular order, but I think that randomly looks quite nice. If you lose any sequins on the way, just take a brush or just take a palette knife so you can shake those away. And there you've got your side design with your sequins on and the lattice work. So I'm going to add just a little bit of colouring. So what I'm going to do is just take the icing and pop this on the side of the cake. It's rather like using oil paints, if you've ever done any oil painting with a little palette knife like that. So just add your texture, or just add your royal icing first of all, like this. Now I'm only doing on a small area of the cake, just to give you some ideas of how to do it. And then once you've got your icing as high up as you want, maybe just a little bit higher there, okay, and just clean the edge of your palette knife. And then if you use the tip like this, what I'm going to do is just to drag that up like that. Just take off the surplus and do a little bit from that end. So this is the icing which I've mixed up, which comes already made. And then what I'm going to do is to take some of this, put it onto the sheet. Now if you want to get a solid piece of metallic, what you need to do is just spread it out, and then if you just take the sheet and tap it on the board like that, shake it down, and then just let that dry. If you want to achieve more of a mesh, what I'm going to do is take another piece of the plastic, okay, and then take your lace icing, take this over the top like that, simply by putting on less icing and then pulling it away, so it will be like a cobweb, if you like. So if I pull that away like this, now what I'm going to do is to let that dry. Now depending on where you are in the world humidity wise, probably about 5 hours, and then what I will do halfway through that, I will peel the paper away and let it dry naturally, air dried. So that one there, I'm gonna do a Blue Peter, and this is one that I did earlier. So you can see there where it's actually dried. If you peel off your paper like this, and then if you take a palette knife, you can lift this up. So you've got your metallic mesh. Really interesting, and certainly a lovely addition that you can use to highlight features on your cake. And then if you want more of a mesh, sorry, more of a gold sheet, this one here, I mean, I know it's got a few holes in, but what you can do is take the mesh, sorry, take the gold or silver that I've got here, and what I'm going to use on, and try again with the plastic, remove this time. So press that down. You can see there, you've got your ferns. So what I'm going to do is just take the icing and pop this on the side of the cake, okay, and just clean the edge of your palette knife. And then if you use the tip like this, what I'm going to do is just to drag that up like that. Just take off the surplus and do a little bit from that end. Just make sure applied. And this can work really nicely with the lattice one that I've done. I am going to be showing you this in the coming weeks and how you can actually use it. Here's the flowers that I actually made. And what I'm going to do is take a little bit of Tylose glue and brush the Tylose glue in the center like that. So you can just brush in there that I coloured up earlier. So what I'm going to do is just sprinkle those over the top. And you've got some really small ones in there, sequins, so they will stick to the middle bits. So I'm going to use some royal icing. I've just got some royal icing in a piping bag like this. And if we just snip the end off like that, so we've got like a number 1 piping tube equivalent of. So that's the icing. Nice small one at the top. You might lose 1 or 2 as you add them. I think we'll put 1 more just there. So that gives you your side design. The small flowers can also be added on your embossed design there. So if you wanted to put one to one side or in the middle, you could add those as well. So that's your side design with those flowers added. What I'm just going to do is use one of those small leaves that I made right at the start, which is made with the edible cake lace. So I just put a little bit of water on there, and that adds another dimension as well. Hope you like that. And this is my sample cake, the one I told you about at the start, which I try out some different ideas on. And you can see there, that's white on white. That's very in trend at the moment. And that's a nice Art Deco design. Again, you can see here with the sequins in. Well, here's the designs that we've managed to achieve this morning. I hope you've all enjoyed watching, and I will be available to ask any questions. And hopefully you'll enjoy watching again next Saturday for another morning in Steve's studio kitchen, Steve's Saturday workshop, live from the UK. See you all soon, stay safe, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.